Today, I want to talk about something that might be a bit difficult for the Jewish community, but I think it's an important point. When Heritage Foundation and Kevin Roberts stood up with other people and said, essentially, there's no enemies to the right. We want to be united. We want to have open dialogue, open discussion. Many people in the conservative movement and in the Jewish community were outraged. They argued, of course, there's enemies to the right. For example, the KKK member David Duke is not welcome in polite society. William F. Buckley expunged the Birch Society from the conservative movement. It's not intellectually honest to say that just because someone claims to be on your side, therefore their ideas are A, relevant, or B, acceptable within accepted dialogue. I want to challenge the Jewish community to do a better job of policing its own nonprofits and the way in which this faulty mentality has ingratiated itself into how people see October 7th and the American-Israel relationship. If anyone or any organization invented October 7th propaganda, there has to be accountability. It's not enough to say, oh, well, we were trying our best. It was crazy. If you're going to put your name behind something and say that this is what happened and people take you at your word and they take you seriously and they want to help and they donate, or if you're a board member or someone who encouraged others to donate to said organizations, then you have an obligation to correct the record. It's not enough to just walk away and say, whoops, sorry, we got that one wrong. And for those who say, oh, well, everyone needs to be united, it's not an absolute principle. People on the right would say a Jewish person who writes for the New York Times is betraying our people. I've heard that repeatedly. They'll say Channel 12 in Israel, Channel 13 in Israel, Channel 11 Israel, the Poison networks can only watch Channel 14. And the same goes left versus right. The left has people that they don't trust. The right has people that they don't trust. So this concept that there's no boundaries and everything's acceptable, right? Breaking the silence. A hard left organization of former Israeli soldiers which receives a lot of money from foreign entities and says horrible things about the army is seen as against Israel and against the army. It's not acceptable what they do, how they go about it. So there are clear guidelines and boundaries for how things are done. Why is it that there's been a free pass given to people who make things up, lie for personal gain or for organizational gain? There has to be a zero tolerance policy for this, and certainly if these people are not correcting the record. It's hypocritical for people to be upset at conservative activists in America and saying, how can you possibly associate with said anti-Semite or said bad person, where you have corrupt individuals in our own midst who are continually pushing these fake stories, not correcting the record, in some cases scamming people out of money, and then the people who donate aren't even correcting what happened. If someone gave to Friends of the IDF thinking that they were helping with the most critical needs, the most important needs, and obviously, as it turned out, they were not the most important needs, they were not the most critical needs, I think the organization owes an apology to the people that donated, the people that solicited donations, at the very least, should apologize to the people from whom they solicited the money. I don't understand. It's not moral. It's not ethical. The idea that you can mislead people, misrepresent the situation, even if your intentions are correct, and then not follow up after and say, listen, I'm really sorry. In this case, we got it wrong. That doesn't increase your credibility by pretending it never happened. And for whatever reason, In the case of Rami Davidian, the fraudster from Patish, who claimed he saved hundreds of people when he didn't, claimed that he lost 2 cars, he didn't, claimed that he disarmed 5 or 6 Hamas terrorists with a water pipe, he didn't. When I approached him privately asking for him just to apologize, he refused to even admit that he'd done anything wrong. And the hate that I've personally received now by calling this out yet again is quite alarming. But it leads me to a much bigger point, which is, how is this kind of behavior acceptable? It's not enough to just say people have good intentions. Where is the accountability? Where is any sort of clear guideline that if you actively mislead people, you're at least going to apologize? For whatever reason, perhaps it's the obsession with the other side, quote unquote. Oh, Hamas is dishonest, so we can be dishonest. I don't really get it. I don't really care about the enemies of the Jewish people at large as far as their conduct is concerned, because I have no expectations for their conduct. But I expect that within the Jewish community, there's going to be upstanding conduct. And if there isn't, it's corrected. I don't understand how one could be a board member at any organization that invented October 7th atrocity stories or lied about what they were actually doing after October 7th. How you could be a board member and not apologize to people from whom you requested money. Now, this might be offensive to some, but I just do not understand it. Right, left, center, it doesn't matter. I think it's basic decency and basic respect, if you value the money of the other person, to apologize and to correct the record. And we should have a culture in which people can correct the record. It doesn't mean that you're immediately disqualified from everything. But if there's a bigger picture in which you don't correct the record and you continually mislead people, that's a different story. But at the very least, people have to have a little bit more decency in coming clean with what actually happened. I don't know how we got to the situation. I've been trying to understand. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who don't even understand what actually happened on October 7th because there were so many crazy stories that were told. With a very limited fact-checking, a rush to put things on Instagram or Telegram, whatever it might be, October 7th was absolutely horrendous. And unfortunately, there were bad actors who took advantage of that situation. And for those who solicited donations in America, there's many of those people who told a very different story in English than they did in Hebrew. Many organizations were able to overstate things in English, not in Hebrew. It's very troubling. I'm not really sure what will be done, but I wanted to put this together just to get some of my thoughts out. I think it's an important point. There has to be some sort of accountability mechanism. It's not enough to say, oh, we're well-intentioned, or he meant well, or he saved one person. In the case of Rami Davidian, helping 1, 2, 5, 10 people does not excuse parading around the world lying to everyone about what you actually did. Same goes for other organizations. The fact that Friends of the IDF said they were doing the most important, the most urgent, the most critical things, and they weren't, they've never apologized for that. And it's funny because so many of these organizations, FIDF and others, people put their name on it. They want to sound important. They're encouraging people to donate because they're donating. If your name means something to donate, then you should at least have the decency to inform people that you were misled and therefore misled them. Do we really want to live in a community in which people can encourage others to donate. There's no repercussions. Doesn't matter what happens with the money. Doesn't matter where it goes, if it goes. I don't think that's a society that anybody in the Jewish community wants to live in. And this isn't a gotcha. This is just basic decency and reestablishing norms in the community that live up to the highest ethical standards. You're not always going to get there, but at least establish them as standards. I fail to see how it's morally and ethically good to continue in this status quo. You have rabbis promoting fraudsters. You have shuls promoting fraudsters. You have federations featuring speakers who don't tell the truth. Why? At the very least, just apologize. Don't double down. And don't just sweep it under the rug. Just apologize and everyone can move on. I don't know. That's just my thought, my quick little rant here. Questions, comments, please leave them below. Always appreciate your time and thanks for tuning in.